Hi everyone, thank you for coming back to the White Change channel. I'm Yulia, and we continue talking about business analysis and how to make business analysts more successful. Today, I want to talk to you about mentoring junior business analysts. I don't know if you have ever experienced this mentorship scenario, whether you were ever asked to mentor a more junior business analyst or perhaps someone who was struggling. Or have you been the junior analyst that was lucky enough to receive mentorship? I want to share 5 important strategies with you on how to help a junior business analyst develop and thrive. Because let's face it, learning the theory, preparing for certification tests, reading books is all good and it's helpful, but it does not replace actual experience. And there is so much that a business analyst should learn on the job. And having a mentor, a senior BA, is one of the best things that you can have. So the first strategy is to help them determine what activities they need to do, what techniques they should use. Sometimes an analyst would start their job maybe the first few weeks, and when someone sends them to analyze the requirements, they don't know what does it mean exactly. Should I just go to some meetings and write down what people say? Is there a template I have to fill in? Where do I get the information? So sometimes it's pretty hard to know where to start and what to do. So suggesting activities, techniques, for example, job shadowing, researching artifacts, looking into data, preparing for workshops, running workshops, asking questions, planning to do some process mapping and then validating it with stakeholders and so on. And again, sometimes business analysts start and end by learning how to do a process flow. So they can do some process mapping, but that's it. And they don't realize how many other techniques exist that can help you in different situations. A process flow is a great tool, but it does not fit all the scenarios. There are so many other diagrams. You may need to create a use case diagram or context model or data flow diagram. You may need to create a decision tree or scenario matrix. Well, you don't want to overwhelm your junior BA with too many techniques, but suggesting 1 or 2 to supplement what they're already doing is helpful. Maybe sharing a template, sharing an example, showing how you do it. And that actually helps them to build up their own arsenal of tools and techniques. So that was number 1. Number 2, come to their meetings. If a business analyst has to lead a meeting, attend the meeting as a BA, of course, it could be intimidating for someone who is junior, but also they may feel that without a backup, they might fail, they may miss something important. And they may be scared. And of course, it depends on who are the stakeholders. Agree to it that some stakeholders actually can be intimidating. On the other hand, seeing how a new BA interacts with the audience, interacts with stakeholders, how do they ask questions? Are they in charge of the meeting? Are you letting the meeting run away from them? Seeing that as a observer or an active observer or perhaps a backup business analyst can help you give them a really, really valuable coaching. So in the meeting itself, you can help them by making important notes or helping to direct conversation if it gets stuck, or maybe just asking a question that you think is pertinent and maybe your junior charge did not think of ask and you think it would help. After the meeting, you can give them feedback. You can suggest how to do things differently, how to prepare better. Maybe you know something about those stakeholders that would be helpful. You can say, sometimes I do this and it helps me. So not necessarily criticizing, right? But giving them some ideas. And again, before you attend that meeting, it's very hard for you to know what to coach them about. So that's number 2. Attending the other business analysts meetings and then coaching them based on how you've seen them interact. The next strategy, which is like a mirror of this strategy, is bringing them to your meetings. Because again, a lot of what business analysts learn They often learn from imitating someone else, especially when it comes to social interactions, conflict resolution, dealing with those different personalities. So even if they're not assigned to your project, they have their own scope of work, bring them to your meeting as an observer, introduce them as a secondary note taker or someone who would help you to create a diagram. So give them a small job to do. Perhaps they can note important terminology for the glossary or make notes of various data elements to analyze later. But let them observe how you work, how you prepare, how you lead the meeting, and what happens in those meetings, because exposure to meetings with stakeholders is extremely valuable. And junior business analysts often have very little exposure because maybe they aren't trusted necessarily with a lot of important meetings, but how are they going to learn if they don't know how to do it? So bring them to your meetings and share with them, show them how you do things, show them how you have captured the diagram, how you handle the situation, even like what type of email you would send, say, to alleviate a concern or to respond to a conflict. So I'll give them opportunities to learn from you by watching how you work. Okay, so that was number 3. Number 4, you have to review their work. You have to do some peer reviews for the junior business analyst and give them friendly criticism and friendly feedback. And it's really important. Now, I worked in a company where all business analysts did peer reviews to each other, regardless of who was junior and senior. It was just part of the process because a second pair of eyes always helps to find maybe some, misinterpretations, conflicts, contradictions, or just parts of your requirements document that were perhaps not perfectly clear. But it's even more important with the junior BA's work. First of all, you can literally tell them if something they captured is unclear or incorrect or doesn't make sense or needs more details, or maybe it has too much details. So you can give them this constructive feedback related to the content of their work. It could be related to the style or visual presentation because it is important as well. Perhaps a feedback on their diagrams. You can, again, from reviewing their work, you can suggest to them how to organize things differently, what other diagram, what type of artifact can help them. In addition to that, you also build trust with your business stakeholders, because if you have too many situations where a junior business analyst work even on a smaller project, but they make a lot of mistakes, stakeholders are frustrated with them, they don't get back notes and documentation on time, or that documentation is confusing or doesn't fully reflect the information they conveyed, your stakeholders may be more mistrustful of business analysis in general, or of your group, of your department, and they may not be as willing to work with other business analysts. So from the perspective of business analysis team reputation, you also want to make sure that every single team member provides quality outputs. So you as a senior BA definitely should be reviewing and giving feedback, or offering corrections or helping with corrections, so that they produce quality work. And again, the more examples of good quality business analysis artifacts they see, the better they become. So that's number 4. Finally, number 5. And even though it's harder to explain, it's also the most important. If you have heard me speak before or read some of my articles or my videos, you probably heard me say that requirements don't come from business, requirements come from business analysis. So business analysts must analyze information. They don't just gather requirements by interviewing stakeholders and writing down everybody's thoughts. They need to analyze, compare, research, detect gaps, understand what is said, what is not being said, reconcile perhaps conflicting information. There is a lot of that thinking, higher level thinking involved in business analyst job. So if you see that the junior business analyst is laboring under misconception that their job is to document things, that it's really the responsibility of stakeholders to know the requirements and give it to them, you have to help them understand that they need to do the thinking, they need to do analysis. It is their job to take in the information and translate it into requirements, translate it into that vision of what capabilities the future solution might have, or how that business problem might be resolved by building functionality of a system or multiple system or processes. What solution would actually help to resolve the situation? They need to do the thinking, they need to do the analysis. It is very hard. It is the hardest part of the job, but unless a junior business analyst learns it, they will never become a senior BA. They will never be able to do those more complex assignments where you actually have to think a lot. So if you are a senior BA who's mentoring a junior BA, I hope that these 5 strategies will help you, and that you will help to broaden the influence of business analysis profession. It is really important, and many people in organization who don't have BA title also are doing business analysis, and they might come to you for help, or you might be able to coach them. So whatever you do, remember that coaching, business analysis coaching, helps your colleagues to solve business problems, right? Which is really what our job is about. Let me know what you think, and I will see you in the next video.